A pale moon hung over Blackwood Lake, its reflection trembling on the still surface like a shard of silver glass. The forest surrounding the water stood silent, a wall of pines so dense that even the night breeze couldn't stir them. Four friends had driven up from the city for a quiet weekend. Emma, the one who had found the old cabin online. Ryan, her boyfriend, always skeptical, but secretly hoping for adventure. Chloe, the practical one, armed with snacks and a flashlight. Mark, their self proclaimed storyteller, eager to prove he wasn't afraid of anything. They parked beside the narrow wooden dock and stepped out, their shoes crunching on the frost dusted ground. The cabin loomed ahead, a squat shadow with smoke colored windows. Looks rustic, Ryan muttered, tightening his coat. It's perfect, Emma replied, her breath fogging in the cold air. No neighbors, no traffic, just us and the lake. Mark grinned, slinging his bag over his shoulder. Sounds like the perfect setting for a ghost story. Chloe rolled her eyes. Not tonight, please. I want one evening without you trying to scare us. Inside, the cabin smelled of cedar and old stone. A single oil lamp flickered above the table, casting their shadows against the log walls. They unpacked in easy chatter, the way old friends do, but the quiet beyond the walls was heavy, too heavy. When dinner was done, Mark opened a bottle of wine. They sat near the stone fireplace while flames licked at the dry wood. Conversation drifted from work gossip to childhood memories. Laughter filled the cabin until, at once, it faltered. From outside, faint and far, came something like a whisper. Emma froze, her glass halfway to her lips. Did you hear that? Ryan leaned toward the window. Probably the wind, but the air was utterly still. Chloe frowned, setting her mug down. It sounded like someone saying a name. Mark raised his eyebrows dramatically. Already? I haven't even started my story. Emma stood and crossed to the window. Moonlight spilled over the black water. Nothing moved, not even the trees. Maybe it was an owl, she said, though her voice lacked conviction. They returned to their seats, but an unease had settled in, thin as mist. After another hour, Ryan suggested they head to bed. They turned off the lamp and let the fire burn low. Emma claimed the upstairs room with Chloe. The boys took the couches below. Silence crept back in, curling through the cracks of the cabin like a cold smoke. Lying awake, Emma listened. At first, there was only the faint ticking of the cooling stove. Then, soft as a sigh, the voice came again. Her name, clear this time, floating from the lake. She sat up, heart thudding, straining to hear. The whisper faded, leaving nothing but the echo of her pulse in her ears. She told herself it was imagination, the wine, the new place. But when she finally drifted toward sleep, she thought she heard water lapping gently against the dock, though the lake, she knew, had been perfectly still. Morning sunlight spilled across the lake, pale and cold, as Emma stepped out onto the small porch. The water was smooth as glass, a mirror reflecting the pines. For a moment, last night's whisper felt like a dream, until she noticed faint ripples spreading from the center of the lake, though nothing had broken the surface. Ryan joined her, rubbing sleep from his eyes. You were tossing all night, he said. Bad dreams? I thought I heard something, Emma admitted. A voice. Calling me. Ryan chuckled, trying to sound casual, probably Mark messing around. But when they asked Mark and Chloe over breakfast, both swore they'd been asleep. By midday, they decided to take the rowboat out. The air smelled of wet pine. Gulls wheeled above them, silent, except for the slow beat of their wings. As they pushed from the dock, Emma glanced back at the cabin. For an instant, she thought she saw someone standing at the tree line, a slim, pale figure watching. She blinked, and it was gone. They paddled toward the center, where the water darkened. Mark leaned over, peering into the depths. Looks bottomless, he murmured. Chloe splashed him. Don't start. But Mark was frowning. No, really. Look, Emma followed his gaze. Beneath the clear surface, shadows coiled like smoke, shifting too slowly to be fish. She felt a pull, irrational but strong, as if something below wanted her attention. That evening, the air turned colder. Mist crept across the lake as they gathered by the fire. Mark finally gave in to temptation and spun a story about drowned lovers trapped beneath the ice, their whispers luring strangers to share their fate. Ryan laughed it off, but Chloe sat rigid, staring at the darkened window. It's just a story, Mark said, grinning. Then why does it sound exactly like what Emma heard? Chloe shot back. Silence settled, broken only by the faint lap of water against the dock. Then, softly, a voice floated through the mist. This time, they all heard it. A low, melodic murmur, indistinct yet beckoning. Emma felt it vibrate in her bones. Mark grabbed a flashlight and hurried outside, sweeping the beam over the lake. Nothing, only fog and the faint shimmer of moonlight on the surface. I swear I heard it, he said, breathless. Ryan locked the cabin door. We stay inside tonight. No exploring, but unease gnawed at them. Even as they tried to laugh, every creak of the cabin made them flinch. Later, while the others slept, Chloe sat by the window, eyes fixed on the mist-shrouded water. A faint shape swam just below the surface, moving with purpose. It paused, as though aware of her gaze, then slowly sank out of sight. Near midnight, Emma woke to a soft tapping. She turned toward the window above her bed. On the glass, a wet handprint bloomed, 5 long fingers splayed wide. She jerked back, heart racing, but when she looked again, the glass was dry. Downstairs, Mark stirred restlessly on the couch. In his dream, he was standing on the dock, staring into water that reflected only his face. Not the moon, not the sky, just himself. Then the reflection smiled, though his lips remained still. He woke with a gasp, sweat chilling his skin. The lake lay silent, beyond the window. But deep inside, he felt something watching. The next day, the mist didn't lift. A gray haze clung to the lake, swallowing the tree line. Even the birds were silent. Over breakfast, none of them mentioned the whispers. Yet all 4 kept glancing toward the windows. By afternoon, Mark suggested a hike through the pines to clear their heads. They followed a narrow trail along the shoreline, boots sinking into damp needles. The deeper they went, the more the fog thickened, until the world beyond a few meters vanished. Emma felt watched, as if the mist had eyes. She tightened her scarf and whispered, "We should turn back." That's when they heard it. 4 voices, faint but clear, calling each of their names from the lake. The sound was inside the fog, inside their skulls, vibrating their teeth. Ryan swore under his breath. It's coming from the water. How is that possible? Mark took a step closer to the shore. The surface rippled, though no breeze touched it. Beneath, dark shapes twisted slowly, almost human, their faces obscured by the shifting gloom. Suddenly, a pale hand broke the surface, water streaming from its fingers. It beckoned once, twice, then vanished. Ryan grabbed Mark's sleeve. Back to the cabin. Now they ran, mist curling like fingers around their ankles. When they slammed the cabin door, Chloe was crying silently. That night they tried to sleep in the main room, fire blazing bright, but the whispers wouldn't stop. They rose from the floorboards, seeped from the walls, floated through the chimney, low, rhythmic, coaxing. Emma felt herself drawn toward the door. Her body wanted to obey, even as her mind screamed, no. Ryan caught her wrist, but she stared past him, eyes glassy. Mark stood, trembling. Maybe, maybe we should see what it wants. Maybe it'll stop. No. Chloe's voice cracked. That's what it wants. Us in the water. A sudden splash outside silenced them. Then, footsteps across the dock. Wet and deliberate. The door handle turned. Ryan threw the bolt, heart pounding, but a chill spread through the wood, frosting the iron. A voice slid through the crack. Soft, sweet, promising warmth and peace if they only came closer. Mark moved first, slowly, as if sleepwalking. He unlatched the door. Mark! Emma lunged, but he stepped out into the fog. They heard him speak, a single word swallowed by mist, then a splash, loud and final. Silence fell. Emma shut the door, hands shaking. He's gone, she whispered. Ryan dragged a chair against the knob. We wait until morning. No one else leaves, but the voices grew bolder, filling every corner of the cabin. They weren't whispers anymore. They were songs. Sweet, mournful songs rising from under the lake. The sound pressed against their skulls, urging them toward the shore. Chloe clamped her hands over her ears. I can't block it out. Emma pulled her close. Stay with me. Just stay. Minutes bled into hours. At some point, Ryan dozed in the chair, chin on his chest. When Emma looked up again, Chloe was gone. The door stood ajar, fog spilling across the floorboards. Emma rushed outside. A pale outline moved out on the dock. Chloe, stepping slowly toward the water, eyes vacant. Chloe, Emma screamed, sprinting after her. But before she reached her, the lake opened, smooth and dark, and Chloe slid beneath, without a sound. Emma stumbled back, sobbing. Ryan appeared behind her, grabbing her arm. We have to go, now. They ran to the car, breath ragged. The fog clung thick as wool, swallowing the road. Ryan gunned the engine, tires spinning in gravel until they caught. They drove blind, headlights carving narrow tunnels through the haze. Behind them, a single figure stood at the edge of the dock. Mark, or something wearing his shape. Its face was pale and dripping, eyes two bottomless pits. It raised a hand in farewell as the car disappeared into the trees. Hours later, sunlight pierced the forest. The fog thinned. Ryan exhaled shakily. Emma kept her eyes forward, refusing to look back at the lake. They never spoke of that weekend again. But sometimes, on quiet nights, Emma swore she could still hear it. A faint voice under the hum of the city, calling her name from far below, where the lake lay waiting.